Welcome back, guys, to Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets by Dav Pilkey, the second epic novel. Last time we read chapters 1 through 4. We're going to continue with chapters 5 through 10. So I hope you guys brought your listening ears and are ready to begin this continuation of this great adventure they have. Let's get started. Chapter 5. Bigger and Better Things. George and Harold went to the other end of the gymnasium, opened their backpacks, and began to work. George busied himself by turning all the spray nozzles on the automatic dog washer around, while Harold filled up the soap tank with India ink. This year's invention convention. Then they moved on to the volcano detector. "Will you please pass me the big bag of butterscotch pudding and a Phillips head screwdriver?" asked Harold. "Sure," said George as he carefully inserted eggs into the electric ping pong ball server. Chapter 6. The Invention Convention. The following day started out sunny and cheerful. The students and faculty filed into the gymnasium and checked the seats very carefully before sitting down. "Greetings," said Mr. Crump, who was standing up at the microphone. "You don't need to worry about sticky seats today," he said. "I've taken measures to ensure that this invention convention won't be a disaster like last year's." Everyone settled in as Madison Mancini, a third grader, stepped on stage to demonstrate her atomic dog washer. "First," said Madison, "you put your dog in the tub, then you press this button." Madison pressed the start button. At first, nothing happened. Then suddenly, a spurt of inky black water sprayed up and out over the crowd. Everyone except the dog got soaked. As Madison tried desperately to turn off the sprayers, "I can't stop it," she cried. "Someone turn all the nozzles around." "Now, who could have done that?" asked Mr. Crump. Next up was Donnie Schumeyer with his electric ping pong ball server. He turned the machine on and immediately it began hurling extra large grade A eggs into the crowd. Foop, 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 went the machine. Splat, 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 went the eggs. "I can't turn the machine off," cried Donnie. "Somebody jammed the paperclip into the controller." "Now who could have done that?" asked Mrs. Ribble. Freddie Moore's volcano detector was also a big flop. When Freddie connected the circuits to the 9-volt battery, a large spring, which had been crammed into the center of his miniature volcano, launched a giant plastic bag of butterscotch pudding high into the crowd. It landed somewhere between the third and fourth row. Splat! "Hey!" whined Freddie. "Somebody put pudding in my volcano." "Now who could have done that?" asked Mr. Meaner. The rest of the day went on much the same way, with people shouting everything from "Hey, who put oatmeal in my solar-powered leaf blower?" to "Hey, who let all the mice out of my treadmill dune buggy?" It wasn't long before everyone fled the gymnasium, and the second annual invention convention had to be called off. "How could this have happened?" cried Mr. Crump as he wiped chocolate syrup, pencil shavings, cream of mushroom soup off of his face and shirt. "George and Harold have been in study hall all day long. I put them there myself." Excuse me, Mr. Crump," said Melvin sneakily. "I think I have an answer to your question." Chapter 7. Busted! Crash! Went the door to the study hall room. Mr. Crump stumped in like a crazy person. George and Harold had never seen him this upset before. "You boys are so much in trouble," Mr. Crump shouted. "I'm putting you two on permanent detention for the rest of the school year." "Wait a second," cried George. "You can't prove anything." "Yeah," said Harold. "We've been here all day." Mr. Crump smiled devilishly and looked toward the door. "Oh, Melvin," he called. Melvin neatly stepped into the room covered in mustard, eggshells, and shredded coconut. "They did it," Melvin said, pointing at George and Harold. "I saw him last night in the gym." "Melvin!" cried George, horrified. "You promised!" "I changed my mind," Melvin said, grinning smugly. "Have fun in detention." Chapter 8. the invention, convention, detention. After school, Mr. Crump ushered George and Harold into the detention room and wrote a long sentence on the chalkboard. From now on, growled Mr. Crump, you boys will spend 2 hours a day after school copying this sentence over and over. I want every chalkboard in this room filled completely. On his way out the door, Mr. Crump turned and said with an evil grin, and if either of you leave this room for any reason, I'm going to suspend you both. Now, as you might have guessed, writing sentences was nothing new to George and Harold. The two boys waited until Mr. Crump left the room. Then they each took 4 homemade wooden rods out of their backpacks. The rods had holes in them that George and Harold had drilled in George's dad's workshop. George screwed the rods together while Harold inserted a piece of chalk into each hole. Then they took a pole and began copying Mr. Crump's sentence. Every time they wrote the sentence, the wooden poles made 12. After about 3.5 minutes, every chalkboard in the room was completely filled. George and Harold sat down and admired their work. We've got a lot of time on our hands now, said George. Got any ideas? Let's make a new comic book, said George. So the two boys took out some paper and pens and created an all-new adventure about their favorite superhero. It was called Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Chapter 9, Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets by George Beard and Harold Hutchins. Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Story by George Beard, pictures by Harold Hutchins. One day at school, everything was pretty normal. The lunch ladies were serving toasted rat sandwiches, the principal's yelling, blah, 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 and the gym teacher was being mean to everyone. My grandma can run faster than you guys. Then a UFO appeared. It zapped the school with the evil ray. The ray made all the toilets come to life. It made them evil too. The toilets were hungry. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. So they ate the gym teacher. Help! The toilets just scratched somebody's car and ate up the gym teacher. Lord have mercy. Was it my car? This looks like a job for Crash. Captain Underpants! Captain Underpants ran to the storage room. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. He found a bunch of plungers. He put them in the toilets. Their mouths got stuck. Tra-la-la! Hooray for Captain Underpants! Now to stop that evil UFO. Captain Underpants went outside and saw the UFO. It opened up. Click! And out jumped the terrible Turbo Toilet 2000. I'll flush you! They had a big fight. Captain Underpants was faster than a speeding waistband. More powerful than boxer shorts. Tra-la-la! Kick. And able to leap tall buildings without getting a wedgie. Captain Underpants snuck up behind a Turbo Toilet 2000 and gave him a wedgie. Ouchie! Wedgie power. Then he hung the TT 2000 on a stop sign and pulled back hard. Stretch. Then he let go. Twang! Kaboom! Then the spaceship blew up and all the toilets returned to normal. Hooray! Even the gym teacher escaped. Aw, man. The end.